Hello. So today is going to be a bit of a different video to things I've done before. And this is all about earning money online on Upwork. I've had a few people contact me recently and ask me, how do I get started with writing online? Or how do I use Upwork? What's the best way to use Upwork? Should I do this on Upwork? Should I do that? I'm seeing a lot of questions about it. And I know there's a lot of people sort of eager for information on writing on there, that sort of thing. And I've been on there 6 years, so I thought, why not share what I know, and hopefully it will help a few of you. Um, so the main thing to remember on Upwork is um, essentially play by their rules. They are providing a platform for you to earn online where you can earn money, live in any country essentially, connect with a wide range of global businesses, essentially advertise and build up your own portfolio. And yes, they do take 20% fees. That's the downside. But the way I like to see it is if you were running your own business or you are running your own business, you'll probably spend 20% of that money on advertising, or you're likely to spend it in some other way of marketing yourself. So to me, 20% isn't a huge amount, but you do have to factor that into your costs. So I think we'll start there. We'll start with the actual sort of portfolio and profile. How do you start when you've got no experience, you've got nothing essentially? I would say try and do some little bits of work for free or for low cost, like speak to friends, speak to family, speak to colleagues, people that you've worked with. Try and sort of get whatever you can just built up on your profile, just something that you can get one or two jobs through there. So you've got some feedback so people can see your work. That's the main thing really, because the hardest thing I found with any sort of freelancing is to sort of it's to get going and to start. That's a really, really hard thing. I see it as a bit like you're making like a little snowball, and you're sort of like, and it's really tiny and you're sort of pushing up the hill and it's like, oh God. And it's a nightmare. And you just, you want to give up and it's difficult and it's a tiny little snowball and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger as you get more and more work. And then there comes a point where you get to the top and then you end up just sort of rolling rolling down the hill because you've gathered that momentum, right? And that's what work is really about. You can't really dip in and dip out of it. It has to be a consistent thing. Even if you're only working on it, say 2 hours a week, keep consistent with it. Because once you've built up your profile and the keywords in your description and your headline is really important, have a think about that. You've got to be consistent with your credits, with the amount of credits that you're spending. Now, I don't know this for sure, but this is what I've kind of seen and what I kind of know is if you decided to use all of your credits in, say, a week or even 2 days, Upwork doesn't like that for some reason. I think there's something to do with your job success score, where if you apply to a lot of jobs but you don't get them all, it will sort of bring down your score. It's something to the algorithm anyway. So be very mindful that for example, when I sort of apply for jobs, I sort of say, right, I'm going to apply for 3 today, 3 tomorrow, 3 the next day, sort of thing like that. And then over time, again, it sort of builds up momentum. The key to, I think, succeeding on Upwork is obviously, like I said, to have a really good portfolio, to use your credits wisely. The third piece of advice I would say is to use the filter. Now, I know there's a different amount of sort of searches. There's the your recommended feed, which are sort of jobs that Upwork recommend based on your profile. You've also got a country-based feed. So if you're in the UK, it'll say UK feed. You've also got your standard job feed. But I found the best way to get good jobs is to use the filter and then save all your searches. So your searches were down the left-hand side. So it can be anything really. It can be anything from sort of I don't know, landing page copywriter, for example, and you might want to tick expert, or you might want to tick countries in certain areas. So you might want to say Australian clients, US clients, UK clients, for example, and just have a play around with the filters. Because what I found is a lot of people give Upwork a bad rap and say that if you want to be a serious writer, there's no point spending time on Upwork. But that's just not the case. I mean, I know of a lot of very successful agencies who work through Upwork, and sort of freelancers that have built up their portfolio through Upwork and then use that as a springboard to then launch a website, or use that as an extra sort of portfolio for what they're doing online. And that's really important. If you've got sort of a 5-star rating, and you can go and share that Upwork profile on your LinkedIn and your website, there's no sort of limits to where you can promote yourself in that sense. So it all serves to sort of build that trust. It all serves to sort of showcase, this is what I can do. This is how I provide results. And these are, the testimonials from all these sort of places, almost confirming, sort of what I'm offering, or what the services are that you're offering. So yeah, I would say use the filters wisely, save the searches, that's really important. So then rather than going through all those sort of other feeds, you can just then look, okay, well, I want an ongoing work, for example, I want some ongoing content writing, maybe a newsletter every month, something like that. And you can save those searches. So that's a quick and easy way. I've got about 30, I think, 30 different searches saved, but it's always a good thing to sort of do that. And then what you find is that when you build up your profile enough, you'll get invites to jobs. Now, this is a really important part of Upwork, is responding to those jobs. First of all, responding to any jobs that you've been invited to. If you respond less than within 24 hours, that will affect your JSS, which is your job success score. If you just ignore it, and then 3 days later, 4 days, 5 days later, noticed I got invited to an interview, that will affect your job success score. Your job success score will go down. So the main thing to remember, if you only take away one piece of advice in this video, is to be active on Upwork regularly, consistently. And you can download the app on your phone. It's really, really simple. You can just send a quick reply to people, and when you're invited to a job by somebody, it will have a list of reasons if you want to decline it. Declining it is absolutely fine. As far as I'm aware, it doesn't affect your job success score. I decline, I'd say, maybe 50%, maybe 75% of jobs that I'm invited to, just because it's not a good fit, or I get sort of a feeling about it, or it's not going to be right for me, or whatever. And you've got to be very discerning. I'd say that's sort of another point to discuss. You've got to be very, very discerning on Upwork, because there are jobs, a lot of jobs there that aren't, they either aren't credible, or they aren't really worth your time, or don't really pay much. I think that'll be a sort of a separate piece to sort of look out for red flags. But the main sort of thing is to do your due diligence. Look on the sort of the job posters proposal, their advert. Look at their score out of 5. Look at what other people say about them. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And if you're not too sure, you can just accept the interview and decide. Again, just remember that when you have an interview through Upwork, you're not guaranteed, you don't have to take the position on. In fact, I would advise against, definitely do not quickly accept jobs like that. You want to have an initial call through Upwork, respond to the job invite. Obviously, essentially, it's an invite to an interview. So you can say, thank you very much for interview. You could attach some of your work. You can, show them your portfolio and other places. And then always suggest a call. It's advisable to do it through the platform. In fact, that's what Upwork likes and wants actually at the moment. And so once you've done that, get a brief from the client so that they can really thoroughly understand this is what you've been asked to do. This is how many amends you're going to provide. I always provide 2 rounds of amends in my writing. And then, deliverables, very important, your deliverables. And yeah, the scope of work essentially. So once you've got all that down and you're clear and you're confident that you know exactly what you're doing, exactly what service you're providing and exactly the timescales, then you can go ahead and accept the job. The reason I say proceed with caution is because once you've accepted a job, if you then think, oh, actually, the client wants it done in 3 days and I've not got time to do it in 3 days, that's going to potentially affect your job success score. Anything that you feel that might jeopardize getting that 5-star rating, I would say proceed with caution. So you just want to make sure you're comfortable really, and don't be afraid of turning down work. Don't be afraid of saying no. Don't be afraid of asking for more details, asking for more clarity, having a half an hour phone call, which I don't charge for. But having that initial chat, because it's just as much as you getting to know them as them getting to know you. They're paying for a service, and particularly if it's a fixed price project, it's important to sort of get that clarity up front, because fixed price projects are usually a deliverable fixed piece of work. So you've got a brochure, or you've got a blog post or an article, and you're providing that. And if you're unclear, you could potentially go over that client's sort of deadline and things like that. Just a little note on that, fixed price and hourly work. Obviously, you've got the Upwork time tracker. I'll speak about that. So I used to do a lot of hourly work. In fact, that was the majority of work that I used to do. And if you don't know, the Upwork time tracker essentially screenshots the screen that you're working on. And this is for a couple of reasons. Obviously, the client wants to make sure that you're doing the work that you say you're doing. And secondly, it also provides protection. So what that can do is log an amount of hours. So if you're doing 10 hours a week, 30 hours a week, whatever, it just basically records the amount of time. It's very, very, very granular. And I would suggest not having all the settings on. I mean, you can have it screenshot your face if you really want to, but the data it captures is incredibly granular. So it will capture how many keystrokes you've done in a particular minute, for example. So a lot of clients like to work on that, but if possible, I would always suggest moving to a fixed price project fee and including 2 rounds of amends in that. The reason being is because on an hourly rate, sometimes clients expect you to deliver a fast piece of work. And with a time tracker, it doesn't really allow for thinking time and creative time. So if, for example, if you're going to write some ads, a large part of that time will involve reading. It will involve sort of creative brainstorming. You might be doing a little bit of doodling, that sort of thing. Most clients, they trust you, they're fine. But some clients might say, well, I noticed you were sort of half an hour idle on that particular screen. What were you doing? And you could say, well, I was brainstorming. But again, it's difficult to prove that. So fixed price fee project fees they're just a lot better all round, because the client knows they're paying this amount. You're not going to go over your hours or anything like that. They're paying this amount, they're going to get this back, and they know that they've got 2 free rounds of amends with you where you'll do a refresh and then deliver it back to them. I think that's all for now. I think I'll leave it there and see it's around 15 minutes, but I hope you found those tips helpful. The last thing I'd say is always get feedback from your clients and always make sure that any contracts you've got open and you're not doing work are closed because that will also affect your job success score. Um, so yeah, there's a lot to say. Perhaps I'll do another video on that. But if it's helped you, let me know. If you've got any questions, comments, just let me know down below and I'll be happy to answer them.